The story of the so-called Smiley Face Killer is a mystery wrapped in tragedy. It is a story that has captivated armchair detectives, journalists, and the families of the deceased for decades. With more than 40 young men found dead in suspiciously similar circumstances across the United States, this case has sparked an intense debate. Are these unfortunate drownings the result of accidents, or is something much darker at play? In the late 1990s, Kevin Gannon, a retired NYPD detective, along with Anthony Duarte and Lee Gilbertson, noticed a disturbing trend. Young men, mostly athletic, academically ambitious and popular, were disappearing after nights out. Their bodies were later discovered in rivers, lakes, or other bodies of water, often after extensive searches. In several cases, smiley face graffiti was reportedly found near where the bodies were found. To Gannon and his team, this wasn't just a coincidence. It was evidence of a sinister, coordinated effort by an organized group of killers. The term Smiley Face Killer was coined after this graffiti was linked to some of the scenes. While not every case involved this symbol, Gannon and his team believed that these murders were connected, part of a chilling network spanning several states. Let's take a look at some of the victims associated with this theory. Chris Jenkins. A 21-year-old student at the University of Minnesota, Chris was last seen leaving a bar in 2002. His body was found 4 months later in the Mississippi River. Initially ruled an accidental drowning, the case was later reopened as a homicide after investigators discovered evidence suggesting foul play. Dakota James. In 2017, 23-year-old Dakota disappeared after a night out. His body was found 40 days later in the Ohio River, miles from where he was last seen. The coroner ruled his death an accidental drowning, but his family and private investigators pointed to inconsistencies, such as a lack of decomposition for a body that had reportedly been in the water for weeks. Patrick McNeil. A 21-year-old Fordham University student, Patrick disappeared after leaving a Manhattan bar in 1997. His body was later found in the East River, more than 12 miles from where he was last seen. Gannon's initial suspicions about the case eventually led to the development of the Smiley Face Killer Theory. Each of these cases, and many others, share hauntingly similar details. Victims disappear after a night of drinking. Their bodies turn up in the water days or even weeks later, and families are left with unanswered questions. The Smiley Face Killer Theory hinges on a few key pieces of evidence. 1. The graffiti. The smiley face symbol found near some of the recovery sites is the most notorious aspect of the theory. Gannon and his team argue that it's a signature left by the killers, mocking law enforcement and marking their crimes. 2. Drug use. Many of the victims had traces of GHB, a date rape drug, in their systems. While authorities claim this is the result of recreational drug use or spiking at bars, Gannon posits that it's part of the killer's modus operandi. 3. Geographic spread. The deaths occur in different states, but have enough similarities to suggest coordination. Gannon's team believes this points to an organized group rather than isolated accidents. But the evidence has not convinced everyone. The FBI has repeatedly dismissed the Smiley Face Killer Theory. According to their analysis, most of the deaths are consistent with accidental drowning. Intoxicated people, they argue, are more likely to fall into bodies of water, especially in urban areas near rivers and lakes. Experts also note that smiley face graffiti is ubiquitous and not necessarily linked to the deaths. In most cases, there is no forensic evidence linking the deaths to foul play, let alone an organized group of killers. Despite law enforcement's dismissal, many of the victims' families remain unconvinced. To them, the circumstances surrounding these deaths are too suspicious to be mere accidents. Take the case of Dakota James, for example. His family hired private investigators who found inconsistencies in the timeline of his death and the condition of his body. They argue that Dakota could not have been in the water for the entire 40 days he was missing. Similarly, Chris Jenkins' family fought tirelessly to have his case reopened as a homicide, pointing to evidence that pointed to foul play. The efforts of these families have kept the Smiley Face Killer Theory alive, fueling continued speculation and media coverage. The Smiley Face Killer mystery touches on broader issues. How do we deal with unexplained deaths, especially those dismissed as accidents? Are we too quick to accept official stories? And what if there really is a group of killers operating in plain sight? The lack of definitive answers has made this case a lightning rod for debate. Is the theory a sensationalized conspiracy, or are authorities overlooking a chilling reality? These questions persist, fueling the public's fascination with the case. What do you think? The Smiley Face Killer Theory remains unresolved, with passionate arguments on both sides. Is this the work of an organized group, or are we trying to find patterns where there are none? What would it take to conclusively prove or disprove this theory? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories like this. Together we'll uncover the truth, one case at a time.